Garth Brooks standing outside the fire on the Source 1575. Welcome back to Commander's Open Line. We got a couple questions. If you have a question, comment, concern, you can give us a call, 226-1575 or 226-3621. Let Wing Leadership address your issues. And we have a couple Facebook questions here. This one from Jesse said, I understand that the snow removal is a tough job here, but for tower residents, it's a daily nightmare. There's already limited parking for us, and when the snow piles up in the parking lots, a lot of cars are unable to park. Thick layers of snow make it impossible for these little cars and even some larger ones to climb into a spot. I've had to use a four-wheel drive to get in and out of spots daily. Then when I spoke to housing about it, they told me to call CE because it's not their job. Why can't residents use snow blowers stationed around our towers to clear parking spots?
What a good question. First of all, thank you for realizing or accepting that snow removal is a tough job. We are well above average snowfall right now, and yes, they are working. And yes, we realize some of the parking lot areas we always have challenges in, along with intersections. You'll see similar issues with intersections. The specific snow blowers they're talking about is really how we have it either contracted out for somebody to maintain, or the government uses them, kind of the bigger snow blowers you see around or near the fitness center and schools and other things. And those are specifically for those folks who are trained to use those. So it would be very difficult to try to allow other folks to use those. Are they trained to even operate them? But my instinct right now is to say no on that question. I can do more research, but my instinct is to say, let me go check the towers out and see how the parking lots are looking and see if we can make sure that those are clean. But with the snow blower in particular, my recommendation at this point probably would be not to use them, unless I'm missing something. I think it's a fair question. I do.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, though. We do know what days they go through the tower parking lots, or is that
the tower parking?
Different. That's different.
Those are different. Now, if you go to some of the community center area, they're marked clearly and say on every Wednesday.
Yep. Okay.
And the dormitories and near the bowling center and some of the other places, it specifically says this parking lot will be cleared on this date. But for the towers, it would depend. I can check particular. If I knew the tower number, if you email me the tower number, I'll specifically go check that at john.griffin.1. But I wanted to make sure that it is more challenging to clear parking lots at a towers because cars are always there.
Right.
Ideally, what we do in the work environment is at evening hours, we will clear all the snow up because there's nobody parked at the community areas during the night, because the snow removal does do 24/7. If I'm not answering the question directly, give me a call back, please. I'll make sure I get a better answer for you.
We got another question. That was a good question. Thank you, Jesse. From Cinda. Why can we only plant vegetables in pots and not in the ground? People plant flower gardens, so I can't see that is a concern that the grass will be torn up.
Another great question.
we both look right at you and say, "This is yours." You're it.
I'm thinking
you're in the middle.
I'm thinking about this, and back in South Carolina, we used to actually grow tomatoes in the tires and stuff like that outside, and make it similar so that tomato plants would grow up well. But in this case, there has to be a reason. There may not be. Let me go do some research on this. My instinct is it has something to do with, outside and having vegetables growing outside, and when you leave in PCS and it still grows back up. It could be animals. It could be a multitude of topics. But as soon as Ms. Connor, let me see what I can find out for you specifically. I just don't have an answer on this one.
All right, great questions. Remember, if you have one,
bad answer. Good question.
Good question. Good question. I won't judge the answer.
That's fun for follow-up.
That's good follow-up.
But if you have a question, give us a call, 226-1575 or 226-3621. You can also go to Facebook, post your question up there, and they'd be more than happy to address the issues and concerns that are happening on the base here. Now, we're sort of moving out of winter. Always in March, there's a snowstorm. All right, the first year I was here,
I should throw something at you for that.
I was going to say.
I don't like the word always.
Always.
Most of the time, occasionally.
The first year I was here, we had 24 inches in 24 hours, March 10th.
Okay.
And I know that there was another one. There was a follow-up.
Somebody turn his mic off.
Most of the time. So it's going to happen this year. You know why? Because I prayed for it. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm all for beating the record. I love beating the record.
But as we stated before, you have winter and construction. So construction season's right around the corner. And when the Torrey building, they've got some HVAC issues going on. HVAC renovations.
That's correct. In the Tory building, and for those you don't know, Tory is our main community support, where we have our finance folks, we have our contracting folks, we have our customer support personnel, we have our legal, we have our Airman Family and Readiness, we have Red Cross, we have a lot of customer support, housing, traffic management office where you move your household goods. So what's happening over the next couple months, they're just doing some renovations in there, and about every 2 or 3 weeks, one of those organizations will move out. And they'll be right across the street from the club where our First Term Merriman Center is. But for the most part, it will not impact your service, just if you show up to the Tory building to realize that office may not be there. Right on the front door, it tells you where they are. So, but that will be going on, I think, through August. I want to say through August time period, from now through about August.
And that's good. That's one of those quality of life things. As I went into the Tory building when I first got here, you fit more and squeeze more people into more small spaces than any place I've seen so far in any other place on the base. So being able to expand that out and clean it up a little bit and make it a better work environment for people is, I think, a great idea. So
that way we're not using the Harry Potter room anymore.
Right.
Under the stairs.
That's right.
They don't know
People
that
are working
exists.
out of closets, I think,
They
up
do
there
now.
right now.
They do now, the broom closet.
So hopefully that'll improve that quality of life up there and give them a little bit better place to work as well, and customer service.
One thing I wanted to jump in on and talk about, we were talking about a bunch of dates going on, and we missed something very important that I want to make sure everybody is aware of and cognizant of, and that is March 11th.
March 11th.
Coming up, March 11th is going to be, that is the 2-year anniversary of the Great East earthquake and tsunami. So again, something to be cognizant of. We will obviously be flying our flags at half-mast that day in honor of that tragedy. But again, the Japanese and our friends have requested we honor a moment of silence from 2:46 to 2:47 in the afternoon, and we are obviously going to honor that request. So something to be thinking about as we are really next week in going through our busy days to think about what happened 2 years ago and how that changed really a lot of people's lives here in Japan, and not just Japan but around the world. And to me, one of that event also, when you look at the good things that came out of that, is how close that pulled us as a community. And so there's always something that comes out of these tragedies. But again, moment of silence from 2:46 to 2:47 on March 11th in honor of that event. I just didn't want to forget that one
good one.
before we
That's
got
really-
caught up in a bunch of
yeah.
our other stuff. So
That's really important.
we did have one question.
We have a question.
Yeah,
is this? You want to address this?
Yeah, we can, and I think we're going to need to probably do it a lot more because it's not something the whole radio show would be able to cover. But the question is about the civilian furloughs.
Right.
And we got Blaine Miller here too. I can see him over in the corner. Hey, Blaine.
Well, that's
Coach
'cause
Blaine Miller's in the house.
That's because I called him over here because I'm hoping that they got the email that Blaine sent out, which is a great email. What I will tell you, I also have right now on my schedule that I'm looking at a placeholder for Tuesday morning, March 12th, at 8 o'clock for a civilian call, which is when I'd like to be able to have a little more of our ducks in a row on this. Now, what I will tell you is the furlough piece, for those who don't understand, what is going to happen is our civilian employees are going to be, for lack of a better word, forced to take 22 days of unpaid leave.
I would make sure.
Forced is a bad word.
I think right now we do know for a fact that our Secretary of Defense has notified Congress the possibility of having to use a civilian furlough. We know for a fact
That's a fair statement.
that the Army has actually started issuing letters to civilians, and the Air Force has not.
We
at
have
this
not
point.
issued.
We have
yeah,
not issued
you're right.
any.
We have not issued.
So potential furlough, I would say at this
the plan,
point.
right now, the potential for this still exists. It will not take effect until April.
Correct.
So first and foremost. So as we go through this, now what will happen again in this plan of a person taking 1 day a week off as they go forward? What day that is, how that works, there's going to be a lot of leeway with supervisors and how that is handled to pick the days that work the best for the organization as you go through, so that we're not, maybe having everybody all at once, or maybe we are. Those are the questions that we still need to work through, and we don't have that answer as we go through on the plan. But to answer the most important thing that I think I can express out of this as we go forward with this. There were a lot of cuts in a lot of places. We had obviously there's flying hour programs were cut. We have modernization issues that are going to be cut and challenged. engagement issues that we have with our partners. But I will tell you, if any money does come back, and I mentioned this in the beginning part of sequestration, is, sometimes you get the trickle effect where they go, we really need to give you a little bit of that back. I will tell you, having talked with some of the most senior leaders in the Air Force and hearing them talk, the priority on the buyback is the people. That is all I can tell you is, if this does happen, that'll be the focus point of how do we get that back. That'll be one of the most important pieces. So, but again, Tuesday, 8 o'clock in the morning on March 12th, we hope to have a much better, much more organized answer for you. But that's the best I can do right now as far as we're going, to not use the entire time and require multiple slides. But I will say, if you did not get Blaine Miller's email, it was a great email, had a lot of information in it, and it laid this out quite well, and kind of how this could take place as we go forward.
But I will be as honest and frank as I can. I am thankful for our civilians out there. I am truly thankful. A lot of people do not realize the about 150 appropriated fund civilians and about another 900 NAF type of facilities, non-appropriated fund civilians we have out there. They keep this base running. They keep this base running from a customer support perspective, from a leadership perspective, and I am just thankful for them. And I'm personally apologizing that we're having to go through this, but I do thank our civilian force out there.
Yeah, and it's not just, a lot of folks will think they're just helping to support the quality of life stuff. That is absolutely not true. The civilian force is absolutely critical to us executing our day-to-day mission. And so that is the pieces and parts as we go through this, is where we're going to have to, doing less with less. That's some of what has to happen, because we can't execute our full mission without the civilians that we have working for us.
It's just an unknown right now. That's all it is.
It is, and as Colonel Griffin was saying too, the hardest thing to try to explain is that this is not a statement about the value that we feel our civilian employees provide to us. It's not a statement about how important we feel they are. It's just where we're at, and
it's a budgetary
it's
decision.
hard to say that and not realize that it's a 20% pay cut, really, and so it's hard to kind of put those words out there and say we still feel you're so important and we still do that, when the actions don't seem to match that. But there's no doubt in my mind that at least the people in this room, the people I've talked to in the wing and above from that point, feel that this is definitely not a statement about how important we feel our civilian workforce is and how much we value our civilian workforce.
And specific for Misawa, a lot of our civilian employees are spouses.
Yeah.
They are our spouses force, so it hits even harder at Misawa. It does.
Questions, comments, concerns, give us a call. 226-1575, 226-3621. Both lines are open. You have questions, comments, concerns, they're here to address them and answer them for you, or at least,
take a note for a follow-up.
Take a note for a follow-up. That's what I was trying to get to. That's what I was trying to say.
Griffin.
We will at least write them down and give them to Mike.
If they don't have the answer right away,
Write 'em
they
down.
can find the answer for you. Another song request.
This is from our CCK office in the in the
Good
wing
morning,
building.
Ivy.
Yep. She comes in bright and early in the morning and sets all of our stuff up for us, and she does a great job. And I asked her what she wanted. She said a Rihanna song, and the only one I knew was "Fly" with Rihanna and Nicki Minaj. Right?
That's right.
Did I get it right?
You are.
And believe it or not, I spouted that one out, and she looked at me like, "What is this old guy doing knowing that song?" And I don't know how I do know that, but and it is a good song.
You have
so
daughters.
I do have daughters.
You have teenage daughters.
You've been on the radio enough. You're becoming a DJ. Here's Nicki Minaj and Rihanna with "Fly."
I came to win, to fight, to conquer.